Auschwitz has come to epitomise the evil of genocide. More people were killed here than in any other single site of extermination. Yet this was only a tiny fraction of the total. Far more people were murdered across Europe, in fields and villages, in towns and cities, than in all the dedicated centres of extermination. And people also died from the effects of brutality, malnutrition and disease in the overcrowded ghettos and labour camps run by the Nazis.
My father would tell me about some terrible experiences that he had in a variety of camps during the Second World War, but sometimes only in the middle of the night when he would have a nightmare and I would hear it, did I realize that probably the most horrific part of what he had experienced is something that he didn't share with me. Growing up the way in the atmosphere that I did, of course, the Holocaust was omnipresent. I was not one of those children who did not hear about it from their parents. Quite to the contrary, my parents talked, my father especially, but my mother as well, talked about it all the time.
Oh yes, they talked a lot. I mean, many people of my generation say that their parents never talked about the Third Reich. My parents did so a great deal, especially my father always tried to understand how was it possible that everything went so wrong and what could he have done differently.
Even in families where there was a great deal of candor about those experiences, there were certain things that, for very understandable emotional reasons, parents didn't share with their children, or at least not directly.
He even succeeded in saving for the time being his own janitor, who was Jewish, and his family. He put on his army uniform, went to the place where all these people were interned and said, I need these people for my work, and they released them. But after 1 week, these Jews were hidden in his basement. They had to leave, and he doesn't know what happened to them. Probably they were also caught by the SS later on. He had an impression what Auschwitz was really about only in 1944 when he met a schoolmate, a former schoolmate in a train, and he was wearing an SS uniform. He asked him, now where are you working? And he said, in Auschwitz. And he said, what are you doing there? He said, oh, don't ask me, it's horrible. And then he had a foreboding what happened there. Of course, many other Germans knew much more, not necessarily about Auschwitz, because these death camps were really kept secret very well.
Mówili, they talk a lot. Wszystko co najgorsze, wszystko zło.
Yeah, everything what is worst, yes, the worst. They were discussing, they were saying things. So, więc ludzie wiedzieli, co się dzieje. Wszyscy
wiedzieli, tak, to nie było tajemnicą.
Okay, so everybody knew about Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Tak.
Całe społeczeństwo.
Tak.
Więc jak ktoś mówi, że on nie wie, to po prostu bzdury gada. Że on nie
nie, wszyscy wiedzieli.
Everybody knew.
Wszyscy wiedzieli, to wcale nie było, nawet oni chyba się nie kryli.
It wasn't
bo to nawet nie zabraniali mówić ani nic.
Tak?
Nie zabraniali wcale mówić.
Were people very scared?
Czy ludzie bardzo się bali?
Oj tak.
Tam na rogu, gdzie ta żółta tablica, ją widać, to przed wojną mieszkał Żyd, miał sklep Wieloński się nazywa. Tak, to my już, ojciec powiedział, już się nie musisz przejmować żałmelem ani kacami, bo już z nimi nie będziemy rozmawiać. Ja mówię, a dlaczego tato? Synek, oni już dawno w Oświęcimiu kominem wylecieli.
There is, of course, a clear difference between the perpetrators from the Gestapo, the SS and the police forces, the men who shot and killed, and the grey-suited civilian administrators in their offices. But this does not mean that these civilian functionaries should be overlooked. Whatever their inner qualms and doubts, they faithfully implemented Nazi policies. Everyday racism meant that they were able to ignore the suffering and anguish of the Jews they had forced into ghettos, maltreated and starved. And in systematically degrading and constraining the Jews, in destroying their physical and psychological capacity for resistance or escape, Hitler's facilitators also, whether willingly or unwillingly, ultimately helped pave the way for genocide. After the war, with the focus on so much physical brutality and murder, these civil servants were frequently able to integrate seamlessly into new post-war regimes, telling stories about their past which rendered it harmless, even respectable. Some general conclusions can be drawn about the wider significance of the case of Bedzin. It can help to explain how the Holocaust was made possible by the actions of so many, yet actually intended by so few, and how some people could later claim that they had always been against it, with varying degrees of honesty, while their behaviour at the time had in fact propelled the dynamism of Nazism onto the murderous conclusion that was Auschwitz and all that this stands for.